I'm Andrew, and we're going to be taking you on a wild tour through Regis University PT program. We're going through some wild species. As you can see here, we have a wild creature in initial contact. As you can see, his heel is making that initial contact. And we have 5 degrees forward rotation of his pelvis. As you can see, he's doing some weird, I don't know what he's doing with his hand. We see a lot of muscle activation here in the pelvis of this muscle called the gluteus medius. Yes, it's a stabilizer. Kinematics of the hip, we have 20 degrees of flexion at the hip, as you can see. You see that right there? Yeah, we have a little angle right here. Yes, I have like a British accent now. We're still out in the wild, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, the same muscle activation, but now it's a glute maximus, that big, especially this creature right here, wild creature. Lots of glute max, and then these nice hamstrings, robust. Yes, we're getting that British accent back. Don't worry about the ground reaction force, we'll get to that later. Okay, now back to the knee. We go to the knee. We got 0 to 5 degrees of knee flexion, as you can see. If B1 would have worn some shorts today, we could have seen that, but whatever. We got the that muscle that pulls that knee. That's not right, but that knee flexion, it's the quadriceps working right now. It's the opposite of what you would think. Then we move to the ankle. We got the ankle in neutral. That's all you need to know. 0 degrees. That muscle holding that guy up is the tibialis anterior. I'm taking forever. And the critical events of the heel is the first contact. All right. Now we move on to this wild creature. All right, we're in the loading response. He's another erect creature. All the muscle activations, the trunk extensors. The pelvis is in the same. It hasn't moved. It's in 5 degrees of forward rotation. Same muscle being activated. That glute medius. Look at that stable creature. 20 degrees of hip flexion, and that same muscle is holding that hip in there. That's the glute max and the hamstrings. The hip is very critical event. The hip is very stable. At the knee, we go to 15 degrees of knee flexion, so we got a lot more, 10 degrees more at this position. The same muscle is holding that guys up. Those are the quadriceps. We got 4 of them. Alternative research will show 5, but that's wrong. We only learned 4. That critical event at the knee, that is controlled knee flexion. Look at how controlled that is. I try to move that. That is controlled. All right, now we move to the ankle. We got 5 degrees of plantar flexion. Plantar. That same muscle that was holding it up in initial contact, same muscle, tibialis anterior. Goes down and connects on the medial cuneiform for all you anatomy freaks. The critical events, controlled ankle plantar flexion. Controlled ankle plantar flexion. Alrighty. Now we move. We got a bunch of wild creatures laughing at me. Yeah, they should do it then. Oh, yes. I drew the short stick. Yeah, now we're in mid stance. Yeah, she wore all black. She looked like a meme or mime. Speak with your hands, woman. Yeah, so she's an erect creature as well. Look at how erect she is. Great form. She's using those muscles to keep her erect, or his extensors and abdominals. The only thing that changes are her abdominals are now in play. She has 0 degrees of rotation and 7 degrees of drop. We have never learned that. That same muscle is still working. That's the gluteus medius. Not the maximus, not the minimus. The medius. The hip kinematics. We've got, look at this. We went from 20 degrees to 0 degrees. There is no hip flexion. I'm losing my accent by the minute. Yes. Ground reaction force. Who cares? Let's move to the knee. We got, look it, it's straight. It kept, now we're straightened out, okay? I'm moving in stance. We're 0 degrees of knee flexion. Yes, back to the accent. Now let's move to the ankle. We got 5 degrees of dorsiflexion. And that muscle now holding it, it's switching from the anterior aspect to the posterior aspect. We got the gastrocnemius and the soleus, as Cameron McDonald would say. And yes, that critical event here is the tibial advancement. You notice the tibia is straight in line. Okay, let's move on. You were all right. Now we have the terminal stance. Look at this strong patient hold that. She's nice and erect as well. All of these patients are actually very erect. No laughing on the set. She's in terminal stance. Same muscles are holding this fine creature up. Look at her, she is a creature. Extensors and abdominals. She has 5 degrees of backwards rotation. Look at her, she's moving backwards. If she was to give up, she'd just fall right back. 7 degrees of drop. That's that pelvis dropping. You see it dropping to the right. And we have 4 degrees of anterior pelvic tilt. Yes, yes. That same muscle for the pelvis. What do I say? What did I say, crowd? What muscle is holding it? The gluteus medius. There we go. All together now. The hip. We have 20 degrees of hip extension, as you can see. She's still holding it. Look at that girl go. Yes, and we have the critical event here at the hip is the trailing limb. The trailing limb. Yes, you see that. The knee, we have 0 to 5 degrees of flexion. It hasn't changed yet. Just swinging through. No, we're in terminal stance. I lied. Let's move to the ankle. We have 10 degrees of dorsiflexion, and that same muscle that we had previously is the gastrocnemius holding that guy. And, oh, you can feel it working. She's probably fatigued, I swear. Oh, okay. And yes, that critical event here is ankle dorsiflexion with heel rise. Okay. Hannah, you did wonderful. Okay, let's move on. Oh, now we got Nicole. She's laughing. Oh, she thinks it's funny. Imagine her in this position. Probably do a lot better. All right, now we're in the pre-swing. And again, is she erect? Yes. Class, is she erect? Yes, she is. Very erect. All right, we have the same musculature working, extensors and abdominals, but now she's just at a 4 degrees of anterior pelvic tilt. All right, okay, let's move to the hip. She has 10 degrees of extension. You can see that. Look at that's extension. When that hip moves past, that's extension, extension. All right, and which muscles are doing that? We got the rec fem working. It's holding it there. It's lengthened. We have the adductor longus. That's one on the medial side. And the iliopsoas. Yep, okay, let's move to the knee. We have max, no, not max yet, almost max. 40 degrees of knee flexion. As you can see, there's 40 degrees of knee flexion. And yeah, the critical event here is passive knee flexion to 40 degrees. So we're just hanging on by those passive structures. No musculature. All right, let's move to the ankle. We got 15 degrees of plantar flexion. The most that you will go through in the gait cycle. Those muscles, that same musculature in the back. Hold on, you can feel that. She's probably got a little tender point. We can make the wildness. There we go. And that's the critical phase of this event is the rapid ankle plantar flexion. Rapid. See how rapid that is? There we go. Oh, let's move on. Oh my gosh, look at this man. Oh, the initial swing. Nice. He's probably the most erect out of all the patients. That musculature is the extensors and the abdominals. 0 degrees of rotation. Look at how flat this man is. Nothing significant about him. All right, let's move. Oh, actually, no glute medius. Yeah, he doesn't really have one. The hip, Andy Littman, ladies and gentlemen, Andy Littman. Yes, so we have the muscle activation for 10 degrees of hip extension, or the rec fem, the adductor longus, and the iliopsoas. The same as the last animal. We have flexion of 15 degrees at the hip, and 60 degrees of flexion at the knee. The most flexion at the knee. We need clearance, okay? We need to go to those stairs. All right, critical events, knee flexion is 60. Like I said, get over the stairs. And where am I? 5 degrees of plantar flexion. We went down a little bit. We're 10 degrees down, okay? Turn that sucker down, okay? We went from there to there, okay? See how much harder that is? All right. And yeah, that same muscle, that's holding that up. You feel that guy? You feel that guy?
Yeah.
That's working. That's the tibialis anterior, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's move on to Allison. The mid-swing. The wildebeest. Are you erect?
Yes.
Zoom in on her face and see how erect she is. But now she's not using her extensors. No. She's using the abdominals. All right, she has 0 degrees of rotation in the pelvis. That's it, nothing insignificant. Hip, 25 degrees of hip flexion. You can see a lot right there. She's holding on. That muscle's probably pretty tight. Allison, what muscle is that working? No, she's wrong. It's actually on the other side, the hamstrings. Confusing. Yes. Okay, let's go on to the knee. She has 25 degrees of knee flexion, as you can see right there. Yeah, how you doing? Great. That same musculature is holding that knee in that position. That's the hammies. All right. Al, that ankle is at neutral. She's actually wrong right there. Right there. There you go. She doesn't know what she's doing. And that TA is still holding on to that neutral position. If she didn't have a TA, it would just drop right down. All righty. And that ankle critical event is that dorsiflexion to neutral. Because if Al swings through and it catches, oh, no, but that's too much because that doesn't feel right. All right, let's keep moving on. The last one. I feel like we just had this guy. We did. He's actually a twin. I'm done with this joke. Moving on. And yeah, he's still erect. He's been erect for like, how many minutes has this been? 20 minutes?
It's been almost 11.
11 minutes of erect. Call your doctor. All righty. No laughing on. Hey, focus. We got 5 degrees of forward rotation at the pelvis. That musculature shut off for about 3 phases. Back there, 1, 2, 3. It shut off for pre-swing, initial swing, and mid-swing. But now that guy's kicking back on. You feel that? You feel that? Don't sue me. All right, now we got the hip, 20 degrees of flexion. We went down just a little bit. We got the glute max and the hamstring holding on to that hip flexion. And nothing critical event there, but let's move on to the knee. We got 0 to 5 degrees. There's 0. There's 5. And that musculature, we got both sides working. We got the quads and the hammies. Okay, and that critical event is that knee extension. As you can see, that thing is pretty dying straight. Pretty darn. And yeah, the ankle is in neutral. That's neutral. Last patient didn't know what neutral was. And that same musculature is holding it up. That's that TA. And this guy has some creature-like musculature in his legs. He's a freak. And that's the Gait Cycle. Oh, you didn't get the line?